It was one of those rare afternoons when the world seemed to pause. Sunlight spilling through the trees, the soft wind carrying whispers of forgotten prayers, and the park almost empty except for a man sitting alone on a bench by the lake. Daniel Hayes had come there to think, or perhaps to stop thinking altogether. Life had turned into a blur of noise and emptiness ever since the accident. The one that took his wife, Emily, 2 years ago. Every Sunday, he still came to this park where they used to sit together, because somehow it felt like the only place where her memory still breathed. But today, as he sat quietly, watching the gentle ripples of the water, he didn't know that something unexpected was about to happen. Something that would remind him that God still worked in mysterious ways. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and how God works through the smallest moments, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel right now. Your support helps us keep spreading stories that touch hearts. Daniel was a 34-year-old single father, though he didn't feel like much of one anymore. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, lived with his sister most of the time because his construction job kept him away. Every time Lily asked, "Daddy, are you coming home soon?" his heart broke a little more. He wanted to give her the life Emily would have wanted. Safe, happy, full of love. But all he could give her were broken promises and the kind of loneliness a child shouldn't know. That afternoon, as Daniel sat lost in thought, a woman hurried toward the bench, looking distracted, holding her phone and a cup of coffee. Without even looking, she sat down beside him, quickly, absent-mindedly, as if she believed the spot was empty. It took her a second to realize there was someone there. Startled, she looked up, their eyes met, and she immediately gasped. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry." "I didn't see you," she said softly, flustered, ready to move. But Daniel just smiled faintly and said, "It's okay. It's a free bench." Her name was Grace Mitchell, 29, a teacher at a local elementary school. She looked exhausted, her sweater slightly wrinkled, eyes heavy as if she'd been crying earlier. Something about her presence carried both warmth and sadness, like a melody playing quietly in the background. She apologized again, but Daniel told her she could stay if she wanted. For some reason, she did. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. Grace stared at the lake as though it held answers she couldn't find anywhere else. Daniel wanted to ask if she was okay, but something in her expression told him she wasn't ready to talk. After a few minutes, she sighed and said quietly, "I just needed somewhere to breathe." Daniel nodded because he understood. As the minutes passed, Grace began to open up. She told him she'd recently lost her mother, her only family, and today was her first visit to the park since the funeral. She used to come there with her mom every Sunday, feeding ducks and talking about everything and nothing. "I thought I could handle it," she whispered, "but when I sat down on the wrong bench, it hit me. I don't even know where I belong anymore." Daniel listened silently, his heart stirring with a strange ache of recognition. It was the same pain he carried every day, the pain of trying to live when someone you love no longer can. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just sat together, strangers bound by loss, by something deeper than coincidence. The next few Sundays they met again, always on the same bench, always without planning. Sometimes Grace brought coffee, sometimes Daniel brought crumbs for the ducks. They didn't talk much about the past, but their silences were full of meaning. Grace learned about Lily and how Daniel blamed himself for not being there the night Emily's car lost control in the rain. Daniel learned about Grace's mother, a gentle woman who had spent her life teaching kindness to children, including many who had no one else. Weeks turned into months. Daniel found himself smiling again. Small, hesitant smiles that grew more natural with each meeting. Grace's laughter, soft and sincere, had a way of making the world seem less heavy. For the first time in 2 years, Daniel started praying again, not for things to go back to how they were, but for strength to move forward. Then one day, as the winter breeze painted the park in pale colors, Grace didn't come. Daniel waited, from noon till sunset, his heart restless in a way he hadn't felt in years. He told himself maybe she was busy, but deep down, he feared the same loss all over again. Days passed, no sign of her. He checked the nearby school where she said she worked, only to learn she'd taken a sudden leave after collapsing from exhaustion. Without thinking twice, Daniel found himself outside the hospital that evening, unsure if he was even supposed to be there. When he finally saw her, pale, tired, but still smiling, she looked surprised. "How did you find me?" she asked weakly. He simply said, "I didn't." God did. Grace had been diagnosed with anemia, worsened by stress and loneliness. She'd been ignoring her own health while trying to hold on to everything else. Daniel stayed beside her that night, not saying much, just holding her hand like she had unknowingly held his heart all these months. When she woke up the next morning, she found a little drawing Lily had made. 2 people sitting on a bench by the lake with the sun shining above them. Underneath it, Lily had written, "God brings people together for a reason." That small gesture changed something in Grace. She began to recover, not just physically, but emotionally. She started joining Daniel and Lily on their Sunday visits to the park. Lily adored her instantly, asking endless questions, making her laugh, and slowly filling that quiet space between Grace's grief and Daniel's guilt. One spring afternoon, as the sunlight danced on the water again, Grace looked at Daniel and said, "Do you ever think we were supposed to meet that day?" He smiled, his eyes warm. "I think you sat by mistake," he said softly. "But maybe God didn't think it was one." Time, as it always does, kept moving. But now it moved with purpose. Daniel and Grace grew closer, not out of loneliness, but out of something sacred that only hearts broken by loss could truly understand. They didn't rush it. They just kept showing up for each other, Sunday after Sunday, rain or shine. 1 year later, the same bench where 2 strangers once sat in silence became the place where Daniel proposed, not with grand gestures or fancy words, but with a simple whisper that carried everything their souls had learned. "I don't believe in accidents anymore." Grace said yes, tears shining in her eyes, her heart finally at peace. That day, as they sat together watching Lily chase ducks by the lake, Grace felt something warm bloom inside her. Not just love, but gratitude. Because sometimes God's blessings don't arrive with lightning or thunder. Sometimes they arrive quietly, disguised as mistakes, hidden in moments we almost overlook. Their love story wasn't about perfection. It was about healing, forgiveness, and faith. It was about 2 people who had both lost everything, but found something far greater. The understanding that God's plans often unfold in the places we least expect. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your love and support help us keep sharing stories of faith, kindness, and second chances that remind people they are never truly alone. Before you leave, comment below. Tell us if you believe that some people are sent into our lives by God for a reason. Have you ever met someone who changed your life by accident? We'd love to hear your story. And as the sun set over the quiet park, the same bench that once held pain and silence now held hope. The kind of hope that never fades. Because what began as a mistake became a miracle. And Daniel knew, deep down, that God had brought Grace there not just for a moment, but for a lifetime.